guys, it's Alexis, aka the Sloth Reader, and I'm here today to do the TBR tag. This is a tag I've wanted to do for a while now, but I kind of haven't really been filming tags for the past couple of months, so I figured this was a good place to put it in. I also want to apologize that this video is going up super late today. I have not had any time to film, and so I'm doing this at like 10 o'clock at night, so. Question number 1 is, how do you keep track of your TBR? Up until about a week ago, I really didn't have any specific way I kept up with my TBR. Obviously I have like my Goodreads to be read list, but I don't really keep up with that. I kind of just like mass add stuff to it, and then like whenever I get around to the book, it'll already be there. I am currently actually working on doing a like a TBR jar. That I just am going to keep all the books I need to read in one jar, and then like as I read them I want to be moving them into another jar. So I have been working on that. I've only got about 2 bookshelves done though, so I am working on that, but that's pretty much the only way I do kind of keep track of my TBR. So it's kind of just a mess of books I haven't read yet. Question number 2 is your TBR mostly print or ebook? I would say I have a pretty massive TBR both physically and on my Kindle. I have a bunch of arcs on my Kindle I have to read, but I also think with my physical books, the physical books are the ones I'm more interested in reading, though I do have a bunch of ebooks that I'm super interested to get to. I just find that I kind of can make my way through physical books a lot faster than I can ebooks. But I would say the amount, like the actual number, is probably even. Question number 3 is, how do you determine which book from your TBR you'll be reading next? For me, it's more about why I'm wanting to read this book. A lot of times I am a mood reader and I will randomly just pick up a book, but most of the time it's about like why I'm wanting to read a book. Is it part of a series I'm trying to complete? Is there an adaptation coming out soon that I want to read it for? Is there a readathon I'm trying to participate in? So it's kind of more about like why I want to read it. You know, like a lot of the books that I'm kind of really committing to TBRs are more about sequels I'm trying to read, series I'm trying to complete, or books that were on my to be read list that I'm trying to get done. So I don't really have a way of determining. It's more that I kind of just look at why I'm wanting to read certain books and prioritize the reasoning, if that makes sense. Question number 4 is, which books have been on your TBR the longest? So I went books physically that I've had for a really long time that I haven't read yet. And surprisingly there aren't that many. A lot of the books I had for a really long time are unhauled back in February before I moved. However, I think the ones I've had the longest that I haven't read is the Den of Shadows series by Amelia Atwater Rhodes. These are actually a quartet of books that are all about vampires. And if you couldn't guess, I bought these during the really big 2008 Twilight craze. They're, for the most part, fairly short books, and I actually do still want to read these. Every once in a while I get a craving, a very specific craving for early 2000s era paranormal fiction, and so I do still intend to read these when I eventually get to them, but I think these are the ones I've owned the longest. Number 5 is a book you recently added to your TBR. This is actually a spoiler for my upcoming haul, and this is a real shocker because it's a book I swore I wasn't going to read when it first came out, and that is Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. I read most of both The Infernal Devices and The Mortal Instruments. I have a lot of mostly negative feelings about both series, so I swore I was done with Cassandra Clare, but recently a lot of people have just been like so like getting into this book, and like a lot of other booktubers who said they weren't going to read the series have read it and enjoyed it, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna get on that hype train and I'm gonna read Lady Midnight. So I would imagine you can all expect this sometime in 2018, because I ain't got time for it now, but I'm gonna do it. Question number 6 is a book you added to your TBR purely because of its stunning cover, and for me I'm going to go with Uprooted by Naomi Novik. I bought this book when I first kind of really got into the bookish community, and I honestly bought it on Amazon totally spur of the moment because of how beautiful the cover is. I don't know if honestly if I didn't love this cover as much as I do, if I would be really interested to read this book, mostly because this cover is really gorgeous, and I don't typically like fairy tale-esque things, So I'm not sure if this book itself would appeal to me, but I love the cover and I'll give it a try because of how much I love the cover. Number 7 is a book on your TBR you never actually plan on reading. This one was really hard for me to choose because like I said, back in February, unhauled a bunch of books and I pretty much got rid of everything I wasn't planning on reading. But the one that I chose to keep because I'm delusional about actually reading this, and that is Dante's Inferno. I found this super cheap at the bookstore. I'm in love with the cover. I've actually tried to read it a few times, and it's just, that's not my thing, but I'm supremely delusional that I'll get to it someday. But realistically, it'll probably never happen. Number 8 is an unpublished book on your TBR that you're very excited about. I'm actually going to go with one I do have an arc for that I'm super excited about, and that is One Dark Throne by Kendra Blake. I've mentioned, I think like in 9 videos, that this is my most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and I got an arc of it. I'm going to read it as soon as I finish all the other arcs I gotta get to, but I'm super excited. Question number 9 is a book on your TBR that pretty much everyone but you has read. Oh god. I'm gonna try to get to them this year, but it may not happen, which means I'm gonna go another year without reading the Six of Crows duology. Jesus. Number 10 is a book on your TBR that everyone recommends to you, and I'm going to go with The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I don't really get many recommendations from people. It's more that I express I want to read a book and then everybody's like, oh, you should read that book. But I've had a lot of my friends on Goodreads read this book, and I'll like express a desire to want to read it, and they're like, no, you have to read it now. And I get recommended this book by Goodreads quite a bit, but in general I don't ask for recommendations, so I don't get very many recommendations, but I would say that I've had quite a few people tell me that this book should be like on the top of my TBR. Number 11 is a book on your TBR that you're dying to read, and mine is actually a book I don't physically own, and I don't actually own it at all, but it's a book that I've purposefully stopped myself from buying until I can catch up with this particular author, and that is The Trials of Apollo by Rick Riordan. Both this and the Magnus Chase books I'm both very, very excited to get to, but I won't let myself read either of them until I finish The Heroes of Olympus, and I think putting them off, especially The Trials of Apollo, has only made me like more excited to read it. So like I cannot wait until I'm caught up on The Heroes of Olympus so I can read The Trials of Apollo right away. And the last question is, how many books are on your TBR shelf? Oh man. On my actual shelves in Kindle, I don't know, and to be honest, I'm not going to count it. According to Goodreads, I have 806 books on my to-be-read shelf, and I'm going to be honest with you, half of those on my Goodreads list, I probably don't even know what they're about anymore. So, that's probably not even a realistic number of like how many books I actually want to read. Again, physically and on my Kindle, it's a lot. To spitball a number, I would say probably 400, which is still a lot. Still too many. Alright guys, so that was the TBR tag. I will link the original video down below in case you guys are interested in checking it out. I would absolutely love to know what's a book on your TBR that everyone has read but you, because I think we all have that like one book that we haven't read that we like are trying to get to. As I say, as I lovingly stroke Six of Crows for whenever I get to it. Alright, and I'll see you guys soon with another video. Bye!